We're switching up gears a little bit for today's video because this is a topic that comes up quite often, and that is finding your passion. This is a topic that I often feel gets put on the back burner, and to maintain that metaphor, it's like you put your hopes and dreams in that pot, place it on the back burner with every intention of coming back to it at some point, but before you know it, years have gone by, and those hopes and dreams that were once so fresh and vibrant are now blackened and burned to shit. I don't want this for me, and I certainly don't want it for you either, so let's talk about it. Roll it. Living a mediocre life without passion has always been and continues to be one of my greatest fears. It's also probably simultaneously one of the greatest weaknesses and strengths that I have. Weakness because my unwillingness to settle has somewhat prevented me from achieving stability in many aspects of my life. Financial stability, for example. It's extremely challenging to achieve that when you've essentially spent many years job hopping in search of that one thing that'll set your soul on fire. At the same time, it's a strength because that fear has also given me the courage and confidence to make radical life changes in pursuit of my passion. It's also been an incredible gift by way of the lessons that I've learned. The knowledge, skills, and wisdom that have come with that diversity of life experience are invaluable to me and have helped shape who I am today. That's just a quick background on my motivation in steering away from the mundane, but where does that fear come from? It seems like a lot of people end up working in jobs or careers that they either hate, dislike, or are indifferent about. And I think this issue at least partly stems from the widely accepted algorithm or norms that we've established in society. This algorithm traditionally is after high school you go to college, and then shortly after starting you declare a major. This is very early to supposedly know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And granted, some people do change majors, but many don't. And if you don't question your path or make any changes just for the sake of inertia, you're sort of setting the foundation for what may eventually become a career that you despise. Fast forward 4 years later, you graduate with your degree and you get a job in that field. And that's supposedly the thing that you'll be doing until retirement. Maybe not that specific job with that specific company, but once you're in a particular field, there's almost this gravitational force keeping you in it or preventing you from wandering too far. And as time passes, the cement hardens. The obstacles that accumulate, along with the fear of starting over, make it exceedingly difficult to leave. And all of this potentially dominoed from a single decision that you made as a freshman or sophomore in college. That's a lot of pressure to put on an 18 or 19-year-old. And this is the norm. I think a lot of college kids feel that pressure. I know I did. And specialization that early on is a difficult proposition. I think a much better use of your time in your late teens and throughout your 20s would be to accumulate a wide range of knowledge and experience. In fact, David Epstein has a fantastic book for this called Range. It's one of my favorite books and I would highly recommend it. But getting back, use this time to explore. Find the things that you don't like because eventually you'll find something that you love. Let's use the car example. What do you do when you buy a car? Do you go to the dealership without looking around or doing any research and just buy the first car that you see? No. You probably do some research at home, peruse the dealership for the different options, and then test drive a few, because it's important to know what you like and what you don't. You want to make sure that it's a good fit. But the problem is that society doesn't treat careers this way. It's not the norm to test drive different options, and in many cases, there may be some stigma associated with it. Aside from whatever agenda the school has, this may also be reinforced by potential employers looking over a job hopper's resume. They may not see a 22-year-old recent college grad in search of their passion. They may just see someone who can't commit. And that's understandable. They have a position that they need to fill, and it would be nice if that person stuck around. Fighting the stigma, going against the norm, and starting over is scary. It's much easier to stay in your comfort zone, that place of stability that you've built, even if there's no passion. And I think this is why so many people end up there and then have regrets later in life. It takes courage. For those that are resonating with this message, I think it's helpful to have an example, so here's my experience. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps Infantry with the expectation that that would be my career. But at the end of my 4-year contract, I decided that's not what I wanted, so I got out and I went to college. At this point, I didn't really know what to do with the rest of my life, but I had to declare a major, so I sort of just fell into a business degree because I knew that it would give me a good job after graduation. During my time as an undergrad, I worked in every part-time job or internship that I could get my hands on, covering just about every subspecialty in business. And I kept waiting for that moment for something to click where I would say, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But that moment never came, and I ended up graduating with the degree and getting a full-time position in sales. About 6 months into that, I was unhappy and finally had that heart-to-heart with myself, essentially determining that I was in the wrong field entirely. So I decided to start over. I went back to school to explore the world of science and medicine and began working part-time in the emergency department as a scribe. And that's where I finally had that eureka moment where I said, okay, I'm at least on the right track now. And then about a year later, I moved into a CNA position in the ICU where I was directly caring for patients. And that's where I finally confirmed my path to pursue medical training as a physician. I enjoyed the job, took pride in it and in myself, and I was good at it. The best way that I can describe it is that every time I walked through those hospital doors, I felt like the best version of myself. Long story short, here I am now finishing up my first year of medical school. I love everything that I'm learning, or at least most things, and I'm eager to get back to caring for patients on the clinical side in third and fourth year. So I'd call that a success story, but it didn't come without fear, uncertainty, doubt, and sacrifice. When I left the business world, I was afraid of what people might think or say, because it was a drastic change that, at least at face value, appeared to come out of nowhere. I also questioned my ability and whether or not this is something that I could do. I left the stability of a well-paying job with a good company to start from scratch in a new field, working part-time alongside a full course load in school, earning barely above minimum wage. To provide actual numbers, I believe I was on track to make about $80K that year in sales, and I left that to make $8 an hour as a medical scribe in the emergency department. Talk about self-induced financial depression. And if you think it's gotten any better in the last few years, think again. I did get a raise as a CNA to about $15 an hour, but as a medical student, most of us don't work due to the high course load, and we accumulate massive debt from student loans. Another big consideration was time. So I was already 22 when I got out of the Marine Corps and started my business degree, and then I was 26 when I went back again for the pre-med work. Now as a first-year med student, I just turned 30, and I won't be done with residency until I'm at least 36. For those of you that may be worried about time, as I was, Gary Vaynerchuk is perhaps one of the greatest resources that I can point you to. He has a phenomenal quote where he was talking with a college kid trying to find their place in life, and he said, "You can literally do nothing for the next 8 years and be a child. But you don't think that, because at 22, you don't think 31 is young." So the point here is that if you're in your 20s and you're worried about time, don't be. Time is the one thing you have. Despite all the challenges and setbacks, I'm so glad that I had the courage to make this change, and I would do it again, because that fear of living a mediocre life without passion or living in regret later is far more powerful than any one of these obstacles. And this may be surprising, but it really ties into the overall message of this video. And that is that even though I love what I'm doing now, I always reserve the right to change my mind. And if years into the future, I no longer love what I'm doing, I'll go find another passion. And I hope that you would do the same, because life is too short for anything else. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you got something out of this video, please consider subscribing. It really helps out a lot so that I can continue making these videos. Go ahead, give the video a like, drop a comment down below. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.